This puppet show, it stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home.
Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Patriot Nightcap. It's been a little while. Very happy to meet Loy Brunson. Thank you, Loy, so much for coming on. As most of you should know, Loy Brunson has been on ninoscorner.tv with my brother, and he has got, Loy, you are honestly, in my opinion, like the David and Goliath story of our time right now happening. Like, this is incredible history that, you know, we the people that you have created, and with your brother. Can you give us a little synopsis of what's happening first? Because much to my surprise, I talked to a lot of patriots over here, and a lot of people are like, oh my God, I wrote my letter, you know, I sent it in. And then there's people who are like, you know, who is Loy Brunson? I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, you could be triggering the biggest purge in history right now in Congress, right? It's like the loaded gun pointed at Congress. So maybe you can just tell us, give us some background. And then the June 22nd is an enormous update. So I'll let you speak now. I'll zip it.
Great. Okay. Yeah, it's like there's several battles going on. The very first lawsuit against the 388 defendants that included Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Mike Pence, and 385 others. The one that was filed first didn't get to the Supreme Court. It was my brother's that made it to the Supreme Court. But mine, the original battle one with me as the plaintiff, because a few weeks ago a judge made a decision, we got it docketed and filed at the Supreme Court. So now we have a conference date of June 22nd. Now, the interesting thing that makes this different than my brother's case is this actually is a Rule 11 stamped right on the face of it. So if you go to supremecourt.gov and see a picture, they have a PDF, you'll see Rule 11 on the face of this. That's significant because Rule 11 is only allowed to be docketed if the court decides and concludes that it meets the criteria under Rule 11, and the exact words are, it needs to be, according to them, a case of, quote, imperative public importance. Now, this is very significant because the last time one of those was even allowed to be filed was in the 70s. Mm-hmm. And that was by the U.S. government, having something to do with the Nixon administration. Now, the last time that a pro se litigant ever was able to, which means I'm representing myself as my own attorney, myself, this is the first in America's history. This is the first time in the history of the United States of America that a Rule 11 petition has been filed where the petitioner is representing himself.
So speaking of pro se, meaning you're representing yourself, what's been the biggest challenge? And do you have protection? Like, do you fear for your life sometimes? Because I've had people ask me to ask you that question.
No, absolutely not. We feel your prayers. People are praying for, and we feel it. We really do.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Think about this. We are really moving the Supreme Court to open up 385 possible opportunities for new campaigns. Wow. So there's the positive side to it. And we're not just suing Democrats, we're suing Republicans. So I'm thinking if anyone had a problem with it, they would look at it and go, wow, my favorite person to hate's on this defendant list. I think I'll support it. You know, because it's really, this case really is about awareness, helping America wake up to the fact that our representatives are supposed to be bound by their oath. The Constitution of the United States in Article 6 is very clear with the words, they shall be bound by oath to this Constitution. And that includes federal, state, and local officials and every single attorney, licensed attorney in the United States, and judges. So this is about a coming to the truth cause, and every single letter is like, I'm on board. Every single letter with the letter campaign to the Supreme Court is like, I'm with you. I am with the rest of us that have realized now that they've been violating their oath and getting away with it because they've given themselves unconstitutional immunity statutes. And even in the state of California and other states, when it comes to perjury, they actually exclude politicians and the oath of office from being held accountable for perjury charges. I mean, so we're showing this. This is like America waking up and say, "Whoa,
Yeah,
we found the contract and we found that you're bound to it, and we want
we're taking
you."
our power back. And you really are testing the Constitution right now, aren't you?
We're actually using the Constitution's power that's been
Yes.
overlooked, that hasn't been used. The
Yes.
federal court unfiled this case
Yes.
over a year ago, and they canceled service and complaints. Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, and 81 others were served on March 31st, 2021, and that was canceled. And the court said that my complaint was deficient, and we knew that they had just made a big mistake because courts cannot do that. The judge crossed the line from immunity, judicial immunity, to no immunity because he started acting in an administrative way. And so we knew that they had made a big mistake. So we complained to the 10th Circuit. We took them to state court, both courts to state court. And finally, they reversed that decision and ordered the clerk of the court to immediately issue 388 summons, including President Biden and Vice President Harris.
Wow.
And so now that's the case that we've been battling for a while, and the judge sat on it for a year after he had refiled it. But a few weeks ago, he finally made a decision. So this gave us an opportunity to at least plead with the Supreme Court to accept it as Rule 11, and they did. And so it's just exciting. We can't believe this happened. It's historical.
And what's so exciting is that you're doing this pro se. I mean, we have a right to petition the highest court of the land, right? We have a right to do that.
Yes, and we've been pushed out of that right to petition the government for redress of grievances. If we'd gone to a law firm, they would have said, well, first of all, you have to go to a claims court, but even before that, you've got to get permission to file a lawsuit from the sergeant in arms. So the whole country, we the people, have been pushed away from the most powerful constitutional right that we have, and that's the petition through the courts.
I mean, this is the biggest security breach, really. This is and their failure to investigate. I mean, I feel like it's the movie Network, when your failure to communicate. This is their failure to investigate, and they haven't. That was a great movie, by the way. Well, yeah, they haven't. Yeah, so we're basically saying, let's say there was a contract that you have with someone, and you lost your contract, or you forgot about it, and they're violating it left and right and crazy, and you've forgotten that you have a signed contract. But then you're going through your storage and you find it, and it's like a treasure, right? Here it is, and there's their signature. And that's what their oath is, whether they've subscribed it with a signature or not. They are bound, and they're in more serious trouble if they haven't subscribed their oath and signed their signature. Yeah. So this is like America waking up to, well, no wonder we have problems in America. Constitution requires what the words in Article 6, they shall be bound by oath to this Constitution, and they've skirted that, and they've hid behind their unconstitutional, unlawful immunity that goes right down to the local level. So this is about exposing the contract, and we the people holding their feet to the fire to right. And that's the very grassroots exciting thing about this. It's we the people that are saying, no. We're taking our power back, that you've got to hear this and you've got to pay attention to this. And then now the nerve of Pence running, right? Like, Yeah,
I know. Yeah, it's really crazy.
Really gross.
So this is about accountability, and every honest person wants an honest representative, right? And so I have Democrats friends. I've asked them. I've run for office before. I said, "What do you want as a Democrat?" And the word has been pretty similar: an honest representative. And that's all this is. Look at the Democrats who are waiving the Constitution on January 6th in the congressional hearing, right? We've got to uphold the Constitution. We have an oath. It's like, great, you do. And now we're going to ask you how it's bound, and how we're being bound by it, and we're going to hold your feet to the fire, and we're going to have you removed from office for creating a huge security breach that allowed an electoral vote to be certified without really seeing and checking and investigating that it was real.
Any pushback from like the Bar Association or any attorneys who are pushing back?
No, we've actually had some attorneys come on board and want to do something similar with multiple plaintiffs. So it's been positive, and you have every right in the world. You know, the worst thing was the U.S. attorneys trying to get the court, and the court decided to unfile my case and say, you know, it's deficient, and we got them to reverse that by taking them to court.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, so it's so we're winning some battles. But right now, my biggest goal is to get people like David Barton. There's some people out there that just act like that it's not going to happen. It's like, gosh, regardless of what the justices do, if America wakes up, the justices and the representatives and state and local officials will damn well do what we the people demand them to do with the oath of office and the Constitution. So I'm trying to reach out and encourage those people. And President Trump, he's truthed an article that was positive and retruthed it. So I'm pushing to get more support for the letter campaign, because 5,500 so far is pretty good for something so new.
And anyone can go to your website, loybrunson.com. Right. By the way, I loved the Jimmy Stewart clip. The video. Everything was just so inspirational, and we need this more than ever right now, this loaded gun that the Supreme Court is pointing at Congress. Okay, so June 22nd. So what happens on June 22nd if they say, yes, we're going to hear it? If they say, no, we're not, and they toss it out, then what happens? Well, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I get excited.
No, if they deny it, it still goes on the shelf where they can bring it back, just as my brother's case. But if they deny it, then we have another conference date as an appeal that would happen in October probably, because June 22nd is the last day they have a conference until the beginning of their break for the summer. So after that, they break for the summer, which to me is fine, because we need the summer to raise awareness. Really, America waking up to this, and it's game over. I mean, because justice will be everyone will be exposed, and there won't be any question about the decision. They'll just have to figure out the right way to do it. So it's really about America waking up to the contract we have with our representatives that they're violating, and they haven't been shown the contract, and they haven't been shown how binding it is. It's like they've hidden it from us, and we're discovering it. We found it. And we're encouraging others to join the letter campaign in support of it.
So if the trigger is pulled, what happens? Their credentials are canceled? Like, what happens?
Well, there are several things that justices can do. Now, one former member of Congress thinks that what they could possibly do, and that is reverse the motion to dismiss ruling. What that would do is it would be moved, remanded is the word, back to federal court, and all 388 defendants would then be required with a deadline, they probably have 21 days, to answer the complaint. And then we can go full speed ahead with depositions, discovery, questions and answers, interrogatories, documents. And we're talking about a massive, massive investigation that would happen. So the justice could simply say, well, we want to wash our hands of this, but we believe that the oath needs to be binding, so we'll just send it back to the federal court and dismiss their motion to dismiss, and then they'll all have to hire separate attorneys. I don't believe the U.S. attorneys would represent them beyond the motion to dismiss, which was based on immunity. So they would have to hire 388 different law firms. And then the interesting thing is, one of the causes of action is civil conspiracy. When people are charged with civil conspiracy, attorneys will not represent more than one of them. Otherwise, there's a conflict of interest, and they could end up suing each other. And you can't have an attorney representing a group of people that are going to start suing each other. So it would be a risk of malpractice if they represented more than one. And then even to represent one, they've got to do a background search, make sure that all 387 defendants have not had any business dealings with you and your law firm. So it could create some very interesting moments. And I'm the plaintiff, and so I would actually have the power in that case to settle with any of them. And I might consider, hey, if you withdraw, if you resign, and you sign a contract that you won't run for public office again, and write an apology in support of the Constitution, then you're free to go, but you're out, but you're free to go. If there'd be, something like that. So that would give me a tremendous amount of power as the plaintiff if they remanded it back to federal court. So this is the miracles have happened up to this point, and I say they're big miracles, but not as big as something that could happen with a hearing date. And I think the only reason we got a conference date on this, because this is an identical lawsuit to my brother's. Okay. And so they could have easily sent it back and said, no, you've got to go to the 10th Circuit. We're not going to categorize this as a Rule 11, one of imperative public importance, because you already had one go through like this. But they docketed it and filed it and set a conference date now, because the General waived her right to defend her for her defendants to fight it before conference. She waived that right. And so this
A huge step.
It's an incredible opportunity for people to write letters, and for me and my brothers to be involved in something like this.
Now, Roland is suing the 3 justices, right?
Roland went to state court and filed a lawsuit against the 3 most liberal justices, and they actually took his filing fee and allowed it to be filed, and the U.S. attorneys came on board and filed a motion, I guess. Well, it's to remove it to federal court. In other words, they filed some documents to move it to federal court, and then they filed a motion to dismiss. So they're basically defending the 3 justices based on immunity. Okay. And so the fact that they're battling with this complaint, and the complaint is an expose on the Constitution. I mean, imagine how difficult it would be to get a U.S. attorney or a judge to read an expose on how important the binding oath is and the Constitution. So this, at the bare minimum, is forcing them to read and study. And that's why we got to win with the federal court. That's why the federal court reversed their decision, because we showed them how clear and plain it was that we had every right in the world to exercise this protected right. Now, the judges, an example of how the judges need to be reminded and how they can overlook some major things if we, the people, don't wake up and show them. A good example of that is when Amy Coney Barrett was interviewed in the Senate hearing, and she was asked to just share some of her constitutional knowledge by naming what the 5 protections were in the First Amendment. And the one she couldn't remember is the one that everyone has forgotten. And that's the petition for redress of grievances that you go through the courts. And that's what we're doing. So that's a sign that even the justices have forgotten about the binding oath. They've forgotten about the petition of redress of grievances through the courts, the federal and state courts. And so this is an awakening. And many times you can correct a problem if you just show someone the contract that they've misplaced or they've forgotten about. You know, just like a text message that says, you said this. It's like, no, I didn't. But here it is. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's really sad, because we truly need ethic courses being taught, civics and ethics being taught in high school, because, and also so many people that just are apathetic and have more interest in social media.
But then again, it's easy to forget. It's easy for a congressman to believe he has immunity. My brothers and I produced a documentary in 2010 called The Oath of Office, the Thread by Which the Constitution Hangs. That contract is still in place. My first interviewee was Mike Lee. He wasn't a U.S. Senator at the time. And I said, what's the penalty for breaking the oath? And I had explained it's got to be binding. And I shared with him Article 6. And this was a new experience for him. And he reacted in an honest, new experienced way. He says, whoa, there doesn't seem to be, but there should be. So see, there's an example of just saying, hey, and that's what this lawsuit is. It's showing people, hey, guess what? This is new. They're required to be bound by oath, and they've given themselves immunity, which is a violation of the required binding oath. It's that simple. And so a lot of them are acting in ways they are because of ignorance, and they can be awakened with this lawsuit and with this complaint.
My God. What's the name of your documentary, Loy?
Well, that's not available. I should make it available. I think I will make it available at 7discoveries.com, but it's called The Oath of Office, the Thread by Which the Constitution Hangs. It's a DVD. We got it to the 4,000 state delegates weeks before the state nominating convention in Utah. So that's a good reminder. I think I'll put that on 7discoveries.com.
Please do, because I would love to post that as a link. I mean, really, it's no better time. You know what I mean? Yeah. No better time.
One of the Democrat U.S. Senate candidate didn't know there was an oath. He says, oath? He says, well, my oath would be, I'm going to serve the people. It's like he didn't even know there was an oath. Okay.
Well, if he didn't know.
Exactly. So it's like, oh, I didn't know there was a contract. Yeah. And it's actually your job description. And here it is. And this is what you'll have to swear to uphold and defend. Are you sure you still want to run for U.S. Senate? You know, so knowledge, you know, you hear the statements, knowledge is power, and you shall know
Yeah.
the truth, and
Yeah.
the truth shall make you free. Well, you know the truth about the power in the Constitution, and God will help you free yourself of tyrannical people who are bound by it. And a lot of it can happen just from showing them. And that's why the federal judge reversed his decision. As we showed him, we had a contract and he was violating it. I'm positive that's why that happened.
That is so amazing and so exciting. It's like that the Brunson brothers are really, truly, you guys are blazing the way. You're
Well,
blazing.
we were called the Brunson burners, but we used to use that term when we were.
I think Brunson brothers.
When we were kids
A little more
playing trumpet,
elegant.
people noticed as the Brunson burners.
I did have somebody ask me, and I said, "Well, I'll try to ask this, but you know, is there?" And listen, like maybe you can't even answer this question. Maybe scratch your nose. But is there any military coordination behind any of this, or?
Well, we really don't have any knowledge that way, but it's reminding them of their oath too. In that documentary, I interviewed a military officer, and she was a Democrat candidate, and we got people getting goosebumps listening to her, how serious the oath was. And it's like, that's where we start. And then we show them what's in the contract that they've taken an oath to uphold. So start with, are you bound by this? You are. Okay, now we'll get into the contents of this and show you what you're bound to do. So this is a great place to start.
This is
this
great
signature
place
with the
to
contract.
start. Yes.
Yeah.
So
it's
God,
the best constitutional studies course out there. This is the beginning to learn something and then be able to apply it with a letter to the Supreme Court, which will be filed by the court, and it'll be a part of history forever.
Absolutely. And I loved in the video, you said, get your kids involved, write the letters. Like, this is exciting. And I'm actually going to do that, by the way, because I did go on. I said, you know what? This is history in the making, you know? I mean, and you are on the fast track now for the June 22nd. You have to please keep me posted and let me know. I know Nino was like, he has dibs. He said, you better.
Yeah. That's right. That was on the air. I said that, didn't he? Yeah, he does. He was one of the first.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, he was the very first on that one. It was minutes after I discovered it had been docketed, and within an hour or less, he was interviewing me about it. So
I bet. Yeah, no, he's amazing. He's on top of it for sure. He's got his finger on the pulse. Absolutely. But I'm just so excited. And so LoyBrunson.com, and then your brother's case, what's happening with that? Where is he at?
He's litigating. They filed a motion to dismiss, and I believe he filed an opposition to the motion, and they're waiting for a reply from the U.S. attorneys and a request for the judge to make a decision. So that's alive and well in federal court. After the decision is made there, I think they're going to try to move it under Rule 11 of the Supreme Court as well. So that'll be the third Brunson Brothers Supreme Court case, U.S. Supreme Court.
Just amazing.
This is the United States Supreme Court. Yeah.
And you're all in Utah? Are you all in Utah?
Well, in Utah. Yes. I'm not in Utah right now, but that's where we're based.
Anything else you want to tell my audience that to keep an eye out for? Is there anything that I'm missing?
Well, yeah. And it's like, I published a book, and it's
oh, please.
it fits in your pocket. And I think I have one right there, but it's 7discoveries.com.
No, what is it?
Yeah, it's like a pocket constitution, only it unlocks it. If you were to ask any member of Congress to show you a clause in the Constitution that condemns socialism, they wouldn't be able to do it unless they had this book. Okay. If you tried to find any publication that shows the first 10 amendments amended anything, you wouldn't be able to find anything.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
No.
That it amended. You'll see other amendments, what they amended. But this is the first publication ever that shows what some of those amended that we've been overlooking and ignoring, that are critical, having to do with ownership and pushing back against socialism. So, and also, if you want an exact copy of the petition, we did extra copies that the court's reviewing. It's perfect bound with the word. I mean, it's a sophisticated document, exactly the way they accepted it. You can get some of those too at 7discoveries.com.
7discoveries.com. Okay.
Yeah, and if you have really deep pockets and you can afford it, there's some signed copies available for gifts that are more than the $30.
Okay, so 7discoveries.com, and then go to LoyBrunson.com. If you haven't written your letter, go write your letter, be a part of history. We the people, let's take our power back, right?
Absolutely. We can do it with the power in the Constitution. It's still intact.
Still intact.
Yeah, we've got a contract. We're going to enforce it.
We're going to enforce it. Loy, thank you for taking time for me today. I really appreciate it. I know you're a guy on the run, and God bless you. We are continuing to pray, and I will circulate this. And
Thank you.
I can't wait. I'm praying for you for June 22nd on the fast track.
Great. Let's stay in touch. Nino 1, you number 2.
Okay. I'll take it. I'll take it. Okay.
Great.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let's go.